This may be the most important video you'll ever watch if you want to be a great listing agent. I'm going to take you through every real estate objection and how to respond. And let's face it, what stands between you and more appointments set, more listings taken, and more listings sold is your ability to handle seller objections. And I'm going to take you through 5 different categories: cold calling objections, lead follow-up objections, pre-qualifying, listing appointment objections, and pricing and price reduction objections. And there are 5 objections in each of these categories. Let's go ahead and get started. Cold calling objections. The first one that I wrote down is, have you sold homes in my area? I like using people's names. I'm just gonna, when I say Mr. Seller, which is how I'm gonna start the response to this, I would use their first name. Jackie. For the purposes of this video, is gonna be Mr. Seller. You know you're saying their first name. Mr. Seller. That is a great question, because obviously you wanna use an agent that you feel confident can sell your home in the particular area that you're in, right? Absolutely. And Mr. Seller, I haven't necessarily sold homes in your area, and at the same time, I am confident that I know exactly what to do to find the right buyer for your property that will pay the absolute highest price this market will give us. And ultimately, that is what you want to do, isn't it? Well, yeah, I want the highest price. Absolutely. Let's set up a time to meet for just 20 minutes, and I will show you exactly how I'm going to market your home aggressively so we can find that buyer for your home. Would 3 o'clock work for you today, or would 4 be better? There you have it. Second objection. I have a friend in real estate. Doesn't everybody have friends in real estate? Mr. Seller, I hear you and I completely understand where you're coming from. And you're looking at it thinking, wait a minute, I'm going to sell my house. I have a friend who sells real estate. I might as well use my friend. And I understand where you're coming from. And obviously, Mr. Seller, I don't know your friend personally, and I would imagine he or she is a good agent, because you wouldn't just list with anyone. Obviously, this is a big financial transaction for you. Let me ask you, Mr. Seller, if there was a significant advantage for you to work with someone other than your friend, is that something that you might consider? That is my first choice for that objection. There are others in this video because we have 25 different objections in all these categories. I'm going to give you just one. The next one is, I'm going to list with the neighborhood specialist, or I'm thinking of using the neighborhood specialist. Mr. Seller, I completely understand where you're coming from. You're looking at this process thinking, wait a minute, my best option is to list with someone that sells homes in my area. And I understand that. And at the same time, Mr. Seller, I want you to consider this. I don't specialize in your area or in any particular area. I specialize in selling houses. And I happen to sell homes all over the greater Dallas area. And the advantage of that for you, Mr. Seller, is that I am networking and speaking with potential buyers and sellers in all different areas, and I can attract buyers to your home that are not necessarily looking in your area. And by the way, the ones that are looking in your area, they will come to me regardless of who you list with. They will go to the listing agent, whether that agent sells a lot in your area or sells all over the area. The advantage for you with working with an agent like myself is I'm going to maximize the demand and the exposure on your property by bringing in buyers that are, again, may not even know that your area exists. And when you think about it, Mr. Seller, in order to sell your home for the most money possible, it makes sense that we need to create as much demand as we possibly can, right? Well, yeah, that makes sense. Great. What would be a good time for us to meet for just 20 minutes so I can show you how I'm going to do that for you and for your home? Would 3 o'clock work for you today, or would 4 be better? I actually gave you a handler for this. My first choice would be similar to the friend in real estate over the phone. Mr. Seller, I understand if there was a significant advantage for you to work with an agent who doesn't necessarily specialize in your areas, that's something you might consider. If they say no to that, then you would go into the handler that I gave you. This significant advantage is a very versatile objection handler. You could use it for so many different objections that you might get over the phone or in person. The next one is, how much is your commission? Remember, this is a cold calling objection. So this is over the phone. You do not tell sellers what your commission is over the phone, period. Never, because they don't have anything to gauge if your commission is fair, because they don't know you and they don't know what you do. So you don't respond to that over the phone. All you say is, Mr. Seller, that is a great question. And I would imagine that you're asking me about commission because from your perspective, you're thinking, wait a minute, the less commission I pay, the more money I get to keep. And obviously you want to be able to keep as much money as possible from the sale of your home, right? And they're going to say, well, exactly. Let me assure you, Mr. Seller, that I am the best agent in this marketplace to sell your home for the highest possible price and the best terms so you can walk away from the closing table with the most money possible. We'll discuss the commission in detail when I get there. So would 3 o'clock work for you today? Would 4 be better? If they insist, then you say, Mr. Seller, my commission is negotiable, and ultimately it's going to be whatever you and I agree upon. So would 3 o'clock work today? Would 4 be better? Don't answer it. This is how you handle it. The last cold calling objection I wrote down is, I'll sell it if you can get me $500,000. You haven't really scheduled the appointment yet, but let's assume in this case, you know the house is worth $400 and they're telling you they want $500. Do not engage in pricing conversations over the phone. The same way that you don't engage in commission objections, you don't handle pricing conversations over the phone. So when they ask you, you say, Mr. Seller, I hear you, and I'm not going to insult your intelligence and tell you over the phone without doing any research and without seeing your home how much we can sell your property for. Obviously, you want to sell it for the most money possible, right? Exactly. I can assure you that is my goal in working with you. So let's set up a time to meet. I'm going to prepare a detailed market analysis. During our meeting, we'll take a look at your home, and together we'll determine what is the highest price that we can sell your property for in today's market. Would 3 o'clock work for you today, or would 4 be better? I trust you're starting to see a pattern in how I handle these objections. There are other videos on my channel that actually teach you the steps. And if you watch that video, you'll find it. You'll see the pattern that I'm following. Right now, I'm just giving you the scripts and the dialogues to handle these objections. The last section here is lead follow-up objections. The first one I wrote down is, okay, now you got a lead, you're calling them back and they say, well, I have another agent in mind. So they're thinking to list with somebody else. Mr. Seller, I completely understand. Obviously, there are so many agents out there, and I imagine that since your home has been for sale by owner. Let's call it a for sale. Your home has been for sale for quite some time. You're probably getting a lot of calls from real estate agents. And I obviously don't know who the agent is that you're considering. And at the same time, before you make a final decision to use that agent, give me just 20 minutes of your time and let me show you how it will benefit you financially to work with a knowledgeable, experienced, and professional agent like myself. Our meeting is only going to take 20 minutes. Would 3 o'clock work for you today, or would 4 be better? Next one. I'm going to wait until the market gets better. Now, I don't know if that's coming up for you or not, or if your market is super hot. Either way, if it is hot right now, at some point it's not going to be. So this will be useful. So I'm going to wait until the market gets better. Mr. Seller, I hear you. And I would imagine that from your perspective, since you had the house on the market for the last 6 months and it didn't sell, considering it's an expired, you're looking at this and thinking, well, you know, the market is kind of slow. That's why my property didn't sell. So I'm just going to wait for a little while and I'll revisit this in a few months, right? Now, use statistics from your market. I will say something like this. And Mr. Seller, are you aware that in the last 6 months while your home was for sale, we had a total of 3,300 properties sell right here in our marketplace? Whatever the number is, right? You gotta go find out. Go in your MLS and see how many properties sold in the last 6 months. When you say this, you give them hope. They start to question and doubt why their house didn't sell. Are you aware of that? They're probably saying, well, no, I didn't know that. That is great news, isn't it? Yeah, exactly, because properties are selling every single month. And Mr. Seller, I know exactly what to do to find the right buyer for your property. And it would only take me 20 minutes to show you how I can do that for you. Would 3 o'clock work for you today? Would 4 be better? Next one. Call me in a month. It doesn't matter who this is, right? You're following up on a lead and they're like, no, I'm not ready. Call me in a month. Mr. Seller, absolutely. I can definitely follow up with you. And whether we meet now or a month from now, Mr. Seller, based on our previous conversation, it sounds to me like you definitely want to sell the home, right? Exactly. And this happens to be one of the best times of the year to sell it because we have low inventory right now and we actually have a lot of buyers in the market currently. So let's set up a time to meet for 20 minutes. Let me show you why it would benefit you financially to actually sell the home now versus waiting. And then at the end of our meeting, if everything makes sense, we can go ahead and get the property sold. Would 3 o'clock work for you today? Would 4 be better? Now, regardless of what time of the year it is or where you are selling real estate, always knowing why now is better than later for anybody to sell is your responsibility. You got to know your market. You got to know the stats. You got to know the trends in your market and what's going on so you can create urgency for people. Because the truth is, for anyone who wants to sell, now is always the best time to do it because nobody has a crystal ball. You wake up tomorrow morning and the market tanks. That can happen. It has happened in the past out of nowhere and nobody could predict it. So always know exactly how you can create urgency for the sellers you speak with. Next one. Let me speak with my partner, my spouse, and I'll let you know. This is a common one. Mr. Seller, obviously, you can definitely speak with your partner and reach out to me and we can go ahead and schedule it. And I understand why that's important to you. Obviously, the sale of your home is a very important decision and you're not going to make this decision on your own. So Here's what I'm thinking, Mr. Seller. Let's go ahead and pencil in a time that works for you and your partner. And obviously, you have my number. I'll leave you all my contact information. You can let them know that we scheduled it for, let's say, 6 p.m. today. And if there's any reason why you need to get a hold of me prior to the meeting, if anything changes, we can go ahead and reschedule at that time. So would 6 o'clock work for you and your partner today, or would 7 p.m. be better? Pencil it in. Let's go ahead and pencil it in, and you can confirm it with your partner. If there's any reason why you need to get a hold of me, just let me know, and we can rearrange the time. So it's beautiful. It works like a charm. Next one. I'm busy right now. I'll call you back. This is a tricky one. What I like to do when they say, I'm busy right now, I'll call you back, Mr. Seller, I completely understand. And this is a really quick call. You and I spoke last week. You told me you definitely want to sell the property, and I just want to set up a time to meet with you for 20 minutes. Today at 3 o'clock, I have an opening. I'm going to be in your area, or would 4 p.m. be better for you? Go for a close. You have to do that. They may end up saying, no, like I said, I'm busy right now, I'll call you back, and hang up on you. But you have nothing to lose. And many times when you got to speak fast. When they say, I'm busy, I'll call you back. If you go, well, do you think, they hang up on you right there. Okay, you won't even be able to finish your sentence. So speak quickly, create urgency, and just go for the appointment. Pre-qualifying objections. The first one I wrote down is, can you get me $500,000? Now, I handled the objection earlier. It was a cold calling objection. I'll sell it if you can get me $500,000. The same way that you don't engage in pricing conversations over the phone when you're cold calling, you don't respond to this. You don't get in like what the property is worth and why you don't do that when you're pre-qualifying an appointment. Pre-qualifying is for you to gather information and be better prepared when you get to the appointment. Your job is not to handle these objections when you're pre-qualifying. So what do you do when they say, can you get me $500,000? Mr. Seller, that is a great question. In preparation for our meeting, I'm going to research in detail the recent sales in your area, other properties that are available for sale, and obviously during our meeting we'll take a look at the property and look at the market analysis that I'm preparing, and then we will together decide what is the highest price that we can sell your property for in today's market. That's it. And go on to the next question on the pre-qualifying. I think there's about 10 pre-qualifying questions on my script. By the way, you can download my free script book that has all of my scripts. The link is in the description of this video. The next one is a commission objection. Can you do it for 1%? Again, when you are pre-qualifying, what do? The same thing you did when it comes up as a cold calling objection. Do not talk about commission over the phone. They have no reference. They don't know if 1% is, some agents are not even worth 1%. How would they know? They don't know over the phone. That's why commission is a conversation at the appointment. So when they tell you, can you do it for 1%? Mr. Seller, I understand you're concerned about commission, and I would imagine that you're thinking the less commission you pay, the more money you keep, which ultimately is your goal, correct? To walk away from the closing table with the most money possible. Yes, that's right. Absolutely. And I want to assure you that is my number one goal in working with you. We'll discuss the commission in detail during our meeting, and ultimately it's going to be whatever you and I agree upon. So I'll look forward to seeing you at 3 o'clock today. Don't respond. Next pre-qualifying objection. You can come over, but I'm not going to list. Mr. Seller, I hear you. I completely understand. You've made it very clear to me. Let's pretend this is a for sale by owner. You made it very clear to me that you are not looking to list the property with a real estate agent. And I understand. Obviously, you're selling it on your own because you want to be able to walk away with the most money possible. And I want to ask you this hypothetical question, Mr. Seller. If at the end of our meeting, and I know this is a big if for you because you don't know who I am, you don't know what I do and what I'll be able to do for you. And hypothetically speaking, if at the end of our meeting, you are as convinced as I am that working with me is the best financial decision you can make, is that something that you might consider? It's almost impossible for them to say no to that when you deliver it correctly. That is the last question on my pre-qualifying script. For a for sale by owner is the financial benefit, or if it's the best financial decision. If it's not a for sale by owner, you just take the financial out. The script, again, is on my script book for you. I'm going to interview other agents. Absolutely, Mr. Seller. Obviously, the sale of your home is a very important decision, and you're not just going to list with anybody. You want to make sure that you hire the best agent for the job who's going to sell your home for the most money possible in the least amount of time with the least amount of hassle, right? Yeah, that's right. That's what I'm looking for. Absolutely. And Mr. Seller, in this process of interviewing agents, tell me, what specifically are you looking for in the agent that you'll hire? And they're going to tell you, I'm looking for an agent that can do 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm going to say, absolutely, those are very important things. You know, I'm going to repeat and approve, and then I'll ask them. So, Mr. Seller, during our meeting, if I can show you that I am the best agent in this marketplace to deliver you the 1, 2, and 3 that you're looking for, I'm going to repeat. You got to make sure the words that come out of your mouth make sense. I'm going to give you exactly what you're looking for. Would you consider going ahead and getting the process started today? That's it. As simple as that. If they're still shaky, maybe whatever, you want to ask. And Mr. Seller, I'm just curious, who are the agents that you're going to be speaking with and when? So you can do some research on that agents, because you need to know who your competition is in this case if they end up being settled on interviewing other agents. And you also want to know when they're interviewing these agents so you can make a decision on when is the best time for you to go on these appointments. I say be first. I lost so many listings in the beginning of my real estate career because I used to go last because I was told just go last. And then a strong agent shows up, first one out, they list the property and my appointment is canceled. So go first. The next one is, my partner won't be here, but I'm the one that makes all the decisions anyway. So basically what they're telling you is that all the decision makers are not going to be there for the appointment. Boy, did I get burned on this one time and time again my first couple of years in real estate, because I would say, well, you know, it would be good if your partner's there. No, it doesn't matter. They're not going to be here. And I would be scared of like saying something and then they get upset and they cancel my appointment. So I actually would go out with only one person there, and then I would never take that listing, at least not right there, because they would always say, well, I got to speak with my partner. I'll let you know. They told me over the phone that they're the decision, whatever they tell the partner they will do, but then at the end, they never happen that way. So learn from this, okay? So my response is, Mr. Seller, I understand that you are making the decisions when it comes to what agent you're going to use. And at the same time, Mr. Seller, it is my business practice to meet with sellers when both decision makers are present, because even though ultimately you decide, your partner is obviously involved in the process. They may have some questions, and really the best way for us to handle everything, answer all of your questions and their questions, is for the three of us to meet for just 20 minutes. So would 3 o'clock work? Would 4 be better? No, they're not here at that time. So would 6 o'clock work? Would 7 be better? Ultimately, I recommend you put your foot down and you don't go waste your time on the appointments when all the decision makers aren't present. Next section, listing presentation objections. So now the first one I wrote down is, what do you do differently from other agents? Mr. Seller, actually, the answer to this objection is part of my listing presentation script, which is in the script book you're going to download. So if you use my listing presentation, you're not going to get this objection, because you are telling them what you do differently without them asking. And what you do differently is, Mr. Seller, that is a very important question, because clearly you don't want an agent that's going to do the same thing that your previous agent did, which obviously didn't get the property sold. And I, Mr. Seller, I am an active and aggressive agent. 99% of agents in our market are passive agents. They will put your property in the multiple listing service, put your home on hundreds of websites, and they may do an open house. And those are all passive marketing approaches. I, on the other hand, spend 4 hours a day, Monday through Friday, from 8 a.m. until 12 p.m. on the phone. Prospecting, meaning I am looking for people who want to buy and sell homes. I look for buyers for my listings, and I look for more listings as well, more sellers, because the more sellers I have, the more buyers I attract, and I can cross-sell amongst the listings that I have. Mr. Seller, I'm not going to sit around and wait for the buyer to find me. I'm going to be out there looking for a buyer for your home every day until we find them. And that's what you would expect an agent to do for you, isn't it? So let's go ahead and get the paperwork signed so we can get this property sold. Remember, this is listing appointment now, so you got to close for the signature. The next one is, I have to think it over. Again, that script is on my script book. Mr. Seller, I know this is a very important decision, and you want to make sure that you are making the right decision and choosing the best agent for the job, right? And based on everything that I shared with you today, Mr. Seller, do you believe that I can get this property sold for you? The answer better be yes. If you're following what I teach and you're following my listing presentation and you're delivering it powerfully, the answer should be yes. In which case, you'll say, great, sounds like your decision's already been made. Let's go ahead and get the paperwork signed so I can go to work for you. Give him the pen, show him where to sign. This objection is really not the real objection. When they say they want to think it over, there's something they want to think about. It could be you, the agent, they're not feeling very confident. It could be the commission. It could be the price. It could be they're not very sure they want to sell. So I want to think it over. There's something underneath that. But my first choice is just to handle it the way that I handled it here, because sometimes they just need a little nudge. Selling a home is a very important decision. Choosing the agent is a very important decision, and they have a moment of hesitation, and when you reassure them, they go, okay, let's go ahead and do it. So that's my first choice. Next objection, I'm going to interview other agents. This should come up during the pre-qualifying. It is a question on the pre-qualifying script, so you shouldn't be like surprised to hear this if you pre-qualify the appointment, which you should do every single one of your appointments. But let's say you didn't pre-qualify, and now all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you're blindsided with, I'm going to interview other agents. Mr. Seller, I hear you, and I know this is a very important decision, and I imagine that in this process of interviewing agents, what you're really looking to find is an agent that you feel confident can sell your home quickly and for the most money possible, right? And Mr. Seller, based on everything that I've showed you today, do you feel that I can get that done for you? Well, I think you can do it. So, Mr. Seller, let's just leave all of that behind. I know you're not interested in just interviewing agents and wasting time speaking with a lot of agents. Just like you, I am confident that I can sell your home for the most money possible in the least amount of time with the least amount of hassle. Let's just get the paperwork signed so I can go to work for you. I know you're going to be really happy that you did. Next one, can you do it for 1%? Mr. Seller, obviously the commission is very important. And I want you to consider this, Mr. Seller. The agent that you hire is going to be representing you in all of the conversations with potential buyers and with other real estate agents that are representing potential buyers. And you're not going to be present for those conversations, Mr. Seller. And I want you to think about this. Obviously, you want to sell your home for the absolute highest price, correct? Does it even make sense, Mr. Seller, that an agent who is willing to cut their commission is the one that's going to be a tough negotiator when it comes time to negotiate with those buyers and the agents who are representing buyers? Think about it, Mr. Seller. These agents are not even strong enough to defend their own worth. How strong could they possibly be defending you and the price that we set on your home? Mr. Seller, I have that courage to defend my commission, and I'm also going to be a tough negotiator to protect your equity on this property. Let's get this done right. Put me to work for you. Sign right here. Simple as that. The last one for listing presentation is, have you sold homes in my area? I handle this under the cold calling objections, and it's going to be the same thing. Okay, over the phone, you could always do what I told you earlier if there's a significant advantage, but in person, you're going to explain to them how, no, you don't specialize in any particular area. I specialize in selling houses and finding buyers for the properties that I list. And ultimately, Mr. Seller, that is what you want an agent to do for you, isn't it? And then go back and listen to when I handled it under the cold calling, because you could also explain to them that you sell in the entire greater Dallas area I used, and how by doing that, you attract buyers that are not just looking in their area. Because if they're looking in their area, they're going to call. It doesn't matter what agent they list with. It could be somebody who's never sold a house here. If they want to work and live in this area, they're going to see every home regardless of who the agent is. But the fact that you work the entire area means you could bring buyers from different areas that may not even know that their neighborhood exists. Powerful. I used to use this when they asked me that all the time. And the last section is pricing and price reduction objections. So the first one I wrote down is, I don't want to give it away. Mr. Seller, absolutely. And by the way, I am 100% on your side with this. I would never expect you to give your property away. Obviously, you want to sell it for the absolute highest price this market will give us, right? Yes, exactly. That's right. And so, Mr. Seller, let's take a look at the market analysis, and together, let's agree on what is the absolute highest price that we can sell your property for. So let's take a look right here. That's how you do it. It doesn't even matter. Sometimes they say this over the phone, or it could be in person. Over the phone, again, you don't engage in any pricing conversations. All I did basically here is repeat and approve, validate. Absolutely. I would never expect you to do that, Mr. Seller. Obviously, you want to, that's all the reassurance they need. And then when you go through the market analysis, you have to show them evidence based on the recent sales. And if it's necessary, help them understand how important it is to price the property based on recent sales, because that's what appraisers are going to look at when they come out to appraise their home. Next one, another agent said they can get me more money. Yeah, a lot of agents are so desperate for listings, they will say whatever sellers want to hear, right? And so with this objection, I say, Mr. Seller, I hear you. And I believe you 100%, because there are a lot of agents, and unfortunately, I've heard this from many of my past clients, that will tell you whatever you want to hear because they're just desperate to take the listing. And many agents don't even care if the home sells or not, because listings will attract buyers to them, and then they can take those buyers and sell them other properties and get paid elsewhere. And Mr. Seller, obviously, I don't get paid for listing your home. I only get paid when your home sells. And obviously, my goal is to sell your home for the most money possible. And I can assure you, Mr. Seller, if there was any possibility of selling your home for a higher price, why wouldn't I want to do it? I get paid a commission based on the price that we sell your property for. A lot of agents, Mr. Seller, unfortunately, will use your home as a bait to attract buyers, and they know that the higher price they tell you, the more you like them, and the more likely they are to actually take the listing. Now, you and I looked at the market analysis together and all the recent sales, Mr. Seller. Let's take another look at it so we can make sure that we price your home so it will sell and not help your competition sell if it is priced too high. And go back to the market analysis. The next one, I want to list higher and leave room for negotiating. And sometimes this is a price reduction. No, I don't want to lower the price. We need to leave room for negotiating. And I would say, Mr. Seller, I understand where you're coming from. You're thinking that if you adjust the price to $450,000, then most buyers are going to bring in an offer and you won't have any room to come down. And I want to ask you this, Mr. Seller. Wouldn't it be much better to receive several offers that are too low that you can actually counter offer or even turn down than sit on the market at a price that is too high and never receive any offers that you could even potentially negotiate? See, Mr. Seller, when we lower the price to $450,000 today, I want to assure you that if you choose to, not that I would recommend you just turning down these offers, but you certainly could turn it down and we can counter offer and we can counter at full price, and you'll be in a much better position because adjusting the price today is going to create more demand for your property, and that's what we need. We need buyers to come in and look at your beautiful home so they can go ahead and make an offer, and ultimately we can go ahead and get it sold. So do I have your permission to adjust the price to $450 today? That's how you actually close for the price adjustment. The next one is, I'll lower the price if you can lower your commission. Mr. Seller, I completely understand, and as you know, I get paid a percentage based on the price that we sell your property for, and I know that you know, Mr. Seller, that my goal is to sell your home for the highest possible price. And since my commission is based on the sale price, if you end up lowering the price, my commission will be lowered based on the percentage that we agreed upon. So let's go ahead and adjust the price at $450 today so we can get offers on your property and ultimately get it sold. I just need your approval right here. The last one, finally, 25 objections later. The price is not too high. You just have to do more marketing. Whatever it is, you know, sometimes you have to do more open houses. You haven't done this, you haven't done that. Mr. Seller, I completely understand. And I can assure you that 100% of the buyers that are looking for homes in your area, in your price range, know that your home is for sale. That was my commitment to you when we listed the property, and that's what I work on every single day. I speak with 40 to 50 people a day, Monday through Friday, looking for buyers and sellers. And Mr. Seller, this is not an issue of exposure. This is an issue of price. And in order to get the maximum exposure on your property and get it sold for the most money possible, we need to adjust the price to $450 today. Do I have your permission to go ahead and do that? As simple as that. I trust that all of these objection handlers are going to put you in a very strong position to set more appointments, take more listings, and get them sold. If you have any questions, make sure you put them on the comments, and your comments as well below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next video.